Hi, good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you. Monday morning, new devotional. So let's jump right in. And I'm going to share this morning again from the women's Bible study called Enjoying Jesus 12 Experiences to Draw You Closer. And we are now on the 10th spiritual discipline, which is giving. So, understanding a little bit more about this discipline has helped us to put it into practice, just as we have been doing so with the previous disciplines. And so, it's really been a really amazing practical Bible study. But, anyways, so to get on with talking about this discipline, from this study, we learned that Israel was called to be generous in Deuteronomy chapter 26 from verses 1 to 11. I'm not going to read it all, but what we do read is that the people of Israel entered the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey, and a land of great bounty and peace. The land had been given to them as a gift, an inheritance from the Lord that was promised to Abraham back in the book of Genesis, when God promised to make him a great nation with a special land. The Lord told his people how they were to honor him in this new land. They were to gather the first crops each season, bring them to the priest, and have them presented on the altar of the Lord. And when they did, they were to recite the story of God's faithfulness to Israel. And then they were to end by talking about God's deliverance from Egypt and bringing them to the land flowing with milk and honey. And that's in verses 5 to 10. Then they were to rejoice in all the good things the Lord their God had given to them. And that's verse 13. This message is just as much for us today as it was for the Israelites then. We can recite God's faithfulness in our lives, and we can rejoice in all the good things God has done and given to us. Over time, we grow in gratitude and thankfulness to God. As God has given to us, we are to give back to Him and give to others. With the spiritual discipline of giving, we often think of giving money. But included in giving is our time, our talents, and our resources, which can be both hard and easy to do. I, for example, grew up without a whole lot by the world's standards. In a single parent family of 5 kids, there were many sacrifices along the way that had to be made because we just didn't have the money. But along the way, there were people who generously helped us and blessed us with money, groceries. They gave of their time to help us and to drive us to different places. God provided through these people. And today I appreciate their generosity, what an impact it has made on my childhood, but it has also encouraged me to do likewise today. And I too need to continue to recite God's what God has done and to rejoice, just like the Israelites. So, have you noticed how generosity humbles people, especially when they are on the receiving end? Often it is easier to give than it is to receive. How we need to be humble and keep the harder part of pride in check. That's a word and a characteristic that we don't really particularly like, but it happens in all of us. I love these verses in Mark chapter 12, verses 43 and 44 about the widow's gift, where Jesus tells his disciples that this poor widow has put in more than all those giving to the temple treasury. For they all gave out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she possessed, all she had to live on. How hard this idea of giving until it hurts, where your faith is stretched to trust in God's provision and find that God Himself is enough. To add to this example, 2 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 2 says about the churches in Macedonia, during a severe trial, their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity because they regarded it the privilege of sharing in this service to the Lord's people. The Macedonians' allegiance was to Jesus first, which was then expressed in their commitment to the welfare of others, and they gave out of their extreme poverty. But no one can make anyone give. To give and give generously is a matter of your heart. In 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7, Paul says, each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. So much happens in the giving. When we are richly generous, there's inexpressible joy and freedom. Jesus also modeled giving. During his earthly ministry, he gave of his time and presence, his power, his wisdom, and ultimately, he gave his life. He generously gave and set the bar high for us. If he gave his life, then what excuse can we possibly give to not give of anything else, of everything else? Definitely consider that thought. I have to take a second here to tie in the spiritual discipline of simplicity, as it is interconnected with giving. Simply put, when we give, we practice simplicity by saying no to ourselves, and when we choose a simple life, we have more to give to others. We can give. It's a matter of choosing to follow through, to decide in your heart that you want to do that. What's been awesome during COVID, I have to say, is to witness the generosity and love of so many in our church family for those in need. God is using the practice of giving to transform individuals and our entire church community, our church family. Perhaps you struggle with the idea of giving or putting giving into practice. Well, I hope and pray that you will consider what I have shared with you this morning. Too much comes out of this by the hand of God himself, how much he has given us and how much he will continue to give when we give with the kind of heart like he gives to us. And one of the key things that we've been learning in this Bible study is that the power of all of the spiritual disciplines is in their practice. And you will draw closer to God, and you will enjoy Jesus. So I hope that you will think about putting giving into practice and in all of its facets, and that you will see God work. And so on that note, have yourselves a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday. Take care. Bye for now.